Good afternoon. It is the last day of January, and that means that it's time for a nature journal tour. Welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name is Katie, and I am a nature journalist and a certified naturalist. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'm going to get into the nature journal. Alright, this is the first spread in January in the nature journal. So while I'm flipping through my pages, I wanted to have a little topic of conversation. And today I wanted to discuss methods of referencing in your nature journal. So first and foremost, I want to say, if you are someone who can only reference from photos online, whether that's because you can't get outside or you are referencing a species or a subject that moves, like a bird or some sort of mammal, something that makes it hard to photograph. Or maybe you did photograph it and you just didn't like the photograph that you took. There's no shame in using photos from online sources. With that being said, I've used many different methods of referencing in my nature journal, and I'm going to talk about all of them. So this image is the common earth ball, and I took this photo myself. I will put it on the screen so you can see my reference, and also so you can see that I have made some changes. So there's some information in the foreground that I have deleted from my illustration, and there's also some bits that I've filled in with moss that where the moss didn't exist in the reference photo. That's just how I wanted it to look. So I made my own creative choices when referencing the photo that I took. So keep in mind that your finished illustration, it doesn't even have to look like your photo, even if it's a photo you took with the intention of referencing. So this photo I took on December 21st. I started the challenge a little early because I wanted a page to put out on the 1st of January. So even though I found this specimen on the 21st of December, this was the very first illustration for January in the nature journal. This one is probably my favorite spread. As you know, I love dead leaves. So they are obviously pretty easy to find in the winter months. It's a very common subject matter for me, and they're just easily accessible. You can go to your yard and find a dead leaf. You don't have to go very far when looking for one. So I've identified all of the species in my journal to the best of my ability, but I could be wrong on some of them. For example, I've identified this as an American elm. This is the most accurate identification I could get. So as far as I know, it's an American elm. But again, I could be wrong. I don't know everything, and that's okay. This is the Chinkapin oak leaf, which is one of my favorite oaks. Post oak and shagbark hickory. That one took a long time to identify as well. And that was my favorite specimen out of all of these. So for referencing on this page, I painted all of these specimens from life. So that means I went outside and I collected the American elm, the chinkapin, the post oak, and the shagbark hickory leaves, and I brought them back to my studio and painted them as I saw them. Now we're on to week 3. Finally, we're in January. This is January 2nd. So this one was a combination of different types of referencing for me. So I took a photo of my own woodland. So this is referenced from a photo that I took of the woodland. And again, I've made some changes based on what I wanted the composition to look like and making it a little easier for myself to sketch because, as I've mentioned before, I'm pretty new to graphite drawing, and it's always nice to make things easier when you're learning. So for instance, my barn sits back here, and I just omitted it. I didn't want it to distract from the squirrel, which is obviously the main subject of the composition. The squirrel itself was taken from a photo I found online. I just looked up photos of gray squirrels, selected one that was in the body stance that I was happy with. And of course, remember, if you are using photos online, that you are only referencing a specific part of the photo, not the whole thing. And if I'm only taking the body position or the outline information of a species, I feel like that's okay, especially when it's going into a whole different ecosystem. And then as for the leaves, honestly, I don't remember. So that could have been my own photo of floor litter, could have been a separate photo that I found online. I do remember that I changed it a bit, regardless of where I got the reference photo from. This is from January 9th. So again, we have dead leaves. As I said, it's a favorite subject of mine, especially in the winter months. And this is the post oak, another one of my favorites. So I'm sure oaks, acorns, and other trees are going to be making quite a few appearances in my nature journal, just because it's one of my personal favorite subjects to paint. And here in the foreground, I have a pile of post oak leaves. So again, with these specimens, I collected them from life and I brought them back to my studio. So I selected the one that I liked the best, which probably was the biggest, and I sketched it in the top as close to life size as I could get it. And then I did the same with the pile. I just literally took the leaves and I made a pile out of them, and I sketched them how I saw them. I curated the pile so that it looked a certain way when I sketched it, and also so I found it pleasing as a composition. I'm not super happy with the graphite leaves. I just feel like they look a bit unfinished to me. January 17th. This is a bit of, honestly, more of a boring one in my opinion. I didn't really choose a special composition. I mean, it's just a mushroom. And to the best of my ability, I've identified it as an oak mazegill. So it had really beautiful pores underneath that looked like tiny, tiny little mazes. It was really cool. I've never seen a mushroom like that before. So again, this was a photo I took myself, and I feel like with this one, my replication of the reference photo my replication of the specimen was just okay. There are definitely improvements that could be made here, but I'm not planning on going back and changing anything. And I think that one of the great things about nature journaling or sketchbooking is that I hear a lot of people say that your work is only as good as your worst piece. I disagree. I think that having pieces that you really like and are really proud of elevate the pieces that you feel aren't as skilled or could be better. So I think overall it makes them better. So it's not my favorite. I don't particularly like it by itself, but combined with all of the other illustrations that I've done, I think it's beautiful. And it works. It's, a continuation of the subject matter that I like, which is mushrooms. So I've done a lot of dead leaves, mushrooms, moss this month, but those are typical January subjects, I feel. So this is the last one, January 27th. And this is actually a year in the Nature Journal post that will be going up tomorrow. So as you can see, the page is not completely filled. I actually stopped working on it because I've been having some issues with my wrists. I decided to stop where I was at so I could rest my hand and my wrist. So that is January in my nature journal. Let me know what your favorite spread was. Mine, as I said, is the Dead Leaves spread. If you are interested, you can follow along with my A Year in the Nature Journal posts on Patreon. They are free. All you have to do is follow me, and I post these spreads weekly as I complete them. So if you're looking to stay up to date or to follow along with the challenge yourself, that's the place to go. I will put the link in the description for you. And I think that's going to be it. So thank you again for watching. Thank you for being here on my channel. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.